In 2020, Sally Bolton took on the helm as CEO of Wimbledon, one of the world's most prestigious sporting events, and within weeks was engulfed by the COVID-19 pandemic and faced cancelling the championships. This show was recorded just before Christmas 2020, after a challenging year for any new CEO. We get a centre court, front row seat, listening to Sally explaining the leadership challenges and why the purpose driving Wimbledon will see the institution adapt and succeed through the coming years.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your agenda was, coming into this versus what your agendas had to shift from a leadership perspective in a COVID world?
So in some respects, the agenda hasn't shifted. I think there's just been a slightly different focus. So my agenda coming into the role really centres around three areas of our emerging strategy. One of those is focusing on maintaining the championships at the pinnacle of the sport. The second one is, and it sounds obvious, but it's important, is caring about tennis. It's where we come from, it's who we are. And the third part of that is using our resources and influence to be a force for good. Those three things are absolutely central to what I wanted to achieve when I took the role back in December, when the world was a different place. And that didn't really change through the period of deciding to cancel the championships and then the way in which we acted beyond that point. In some respects, it was just different things came to the fore. So it was obvious to us, having made the difficult decision to cancel the championships, that our first priority was then to think about how we could help and support our local community, because at our heart, our local community matters to us. Where we live matters to us. So really strong pivot to lots of effort and energy on Force for Good. So whether it was putting together a £1.2 million coronavirus fund through our foundation, or opening up one of our kitchens to cook 200 hot meals a day for people in need around the borough, redistributing the thousands of towels we'd ordered for the championships that we then weren't going to need. It was obvious what we should do because we were clear about what the priorities were. So there was just a slightly different spin on it. And I think the only other thing that has felt very significant from a leadership standpoint has been communication. I talked about this endlessly with other leaders, and the universal view is you cannot communicate enough. So whether that's colleagues internally, your board, or whether that's our suppliers, our partners, our players, our officials, it was just enormous amounts of effort, and continues to be the case actually, being invested in just talking to people and sharing what you know, not always having the answer, but communicating as much as you possibly can, and then probably some more.
We hope you're enjoying the Evolving Leader shorts that we're releasing before we start Season 7 in September. You can find the rest of this conversation and all of the Evolving Leader episodes on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and your favourite podcast outlet. I'll also put a link in the show notes.